Hello, a very warm welcome to this webinar today that's going to be hosted by Fresh Relevance. My name is James Bird. I'm part of the business development team here at Fresh. So today we're going to be having a look at a few strategies to help you optimize your digital channels prior to your seasonal peak to allow you to best capitalize on your busiest period. There's a few key things we'll be looking at today. First of which is how to implement an intelligent data capture strategy that allows you to build your marketing database, which will feed your marketing efforts across the rest of the year. It will also help prevent people bouncing off the page for the first time and you losing all opportunities to potentially re-engage. We'll then look at how to make your product recommendations hyper relevant. So not just for returning customers who we might have intent purchasing, browsing data on, but also for those new visitors who we might lack that intent data. We'll also have a look at a few supplemental strategies to further support product recommendations, which further improves their effectiveness. We'll then carry on by having a look at triggered messaging. So firstly, looking at cart abandonments and how to speak more in a more personalized, granular way to different types of abandonment. We'll then also have a look at browse abandonment, which is an additional excellent way to drive supplemental revenue, both during your busy period and after. The final thing we'll cover is advanced testing, which is going to help you test different content to then optimize your different digital channels prior to the seasonal peak to ensure you make the most of your busiest period. So the first thing to cover today is going to be looking at data capture. So what we're looking at right now is the Fresh Relevance sandbox environment. This is an imaginary ski store. This is the brand new visitor experience on the website. So we've just landed, let's say we've searched organically and we've entered onto the website. There's a few things that we've done on the website already to kind of make it super relevant for the new visitor and try and prevent them bouncing away. One of the most prominent pieces is having our Trustpilot reviews in a clear, prominent location, as that is often an excellent way to build trust through a very trusted brand to potentially prevent that person bouncing away. Let's say, for example, I have landed on this website and maybe with all the information I've seen so far, I've decided to navigate off the page. So if I go about doing that and I drag towards the exit, an exit intent pop-up will be generated. So this is going to prompt me to add in my first name, last name, and email address, which will then go into the marketing database and feed your CRM efforts. Now, there's a few other ways you can make this even more relevant and compelling for a new visitor. You can also implement things such as dynamic content into these data capture forms. So potentially you might have a countdown timer for the end of your big seasonal sale, if it's Black Friday. It could be something along the lines of having a coupon in there that will offer me a 10% discount on my first purchase. So there's a number of ways that you can also further supplement this data capture strategy to make it even more effective. But as it stands right now, having exit intent on your homepage or on your landing pages is an excellent way to capture email addresses to feed your CRM. Let's now navigate off this and scroll down slightly to have a look at the first set of recommendations. We can see on here, these are all recommendations for popular products. This is because we don't have an understanding of this brand new visitors browsing, carting, purchasing kind of intentions. So we have to instead use crowdsourced data to feed these recommendations. And we're picking the most popular products and displaying those because those will be more likely to give us, it'll be more likely to help this person convert for the first time, or at least start shopping around so we can start building out that kind of product and behavioral data. If we now navigate instead to the returning customer experience, we can see it's a completely different kind of format and style to the website. Important to note, however, this is exactly the same web page. It's just been personalized for a returning customer. So you can see here, it's referencing my name in a dynamic banner. Obviously, very, very, very nice to have on there, and it just that kind of personal way of selling, which is often such a important reason why some kind of So now we've navigated to the returning customer experience. You can see on here we have a bit of first name personalization. So, welcoming you back in a very kind of personal way, which is often a very useful tool. Um, so now we've navigated to a returning customer experience. It's important to note this is exactly the same web page we were looking at before for the new visitor experience, but instead we've kind of tailored it to better match the information that we've captured on this returning customer. So obviously that can be something like having first name personalization on the hero image, but also in terms of the product recommendations we'll be showing as well. So these recommendations are an AI set of recommendations, and it's taking a look at my personal profile, and it's then taking in and it's then bringing in data from people who have a very similar kind of profile to me. They fall into the same kind of audience segment, and it's then showing me popular purchase products for my segment. So as you can probably tell, all of these products here are focused around skiing. So clearly I have shopped around with very high intent for ski-based products. I haven't shopped around for snowboard products. And that means that I have fallen into the ski segment. And that means the products shown in here are all hyper relevant to me and the things I like to shop and browse. So we can see the output of these product recommendations here. But now let's look at the inner workings to understand the type of data and filtering that goes into these recommendations to make them hyper relevant. So what we're looking at right now is the Fresh Relevance recommendation builder. So at the top here, I've navigated through a few sections here just to make things a little bit more kind of speedy for this demonstration. But what we're effectively doing is kind of stating what area we're going to be placing this recommendation. Is it on a website? Is it on email? The tactic and the data driving it, and then the actual layout and format of the smart block. So we refer to product recommendation blocks as smart blocks sometimes. So just beware, you might hear that a couple more times as you begin to speak to me or some of the team. So the first and most important part of a product recommendation is the data that drives it, as that ultimately determines how relevant the products are that are being displayed. So Fresh Relevance has by far the most amount of data sources that you can leverage to feed these product recommendations. And this is obviously all data that we capture from the website, but we can also implement and garnish with supplemental sources if you do have them. Let's navigate through some of these data sources we can use. So we have our AI-based recommendations here. People like you buy being the one we saw on the returning customer experience. Things such as purchase together is really excellent for cross-selling on the cart or checkout page to grow things like average order value. I won't talk about all of these as it might take quite a bit of time, but I draw your attention to some of the crowdsourced recommendations as well. So crowdsourced recommendations are really useful when you don't have an understanding of the browsing and intent of a visitor or customer. So for new visitors, incredibly useful. This is just pulling out the frequently browsed, carted, or purchased products on the website. But also it can pull through things such as impulse buys as well. So impulse buys are products that could be things such as gateway products, but are generally more related to things such as products that don't require a lot of consideration. So it could be, for example, a smaller supplemental purchase. Maybe it won't be a snowboard in this scenario. Maybe it might be some snowboard wax or something. Just as an example. But yeah, crowdsourced recommendations incredibly powerful and useful when you don't have an understanding of a person's preferred kind of products they'd like to buy. We can also do one-to-one products as well that are taking into account just one person's browsing, carting, and purchasing habits. So this is not necessarily AI-led in the sense that it pulls in other people from segments and kind of matches me with them. So product recommendations are only really as good as the data that drives them, as that will determine how relevant a recommendation is for an individual. So let's look at the fresh relevance data sources that we can leverage. And I'm just going to move me out of the way, hopefully to a bit better location. Excuse me for that one. So now we have our data sources up on the left here. So what we can do is we can have a little look through some of these. So Fresh Relevance has the most amount of data sources you can leverage to feed product recommendations, which really means that you can be very granular and targeted with the data that's feeding them. So we have our AI recommendations at the top here. So People Like You Buy was one that we saw on the previous returning customer experience. And it's taken into account what I like to buy, my sort of audience segment, and then matching me with products that other people in that audience have purchased together. It's a really excellent data source, very useful for things like cross-selling on the cart or checkout page, where you can add in supplemental products that will increase things like average order value by being very targeted with how you cross-sell. We also have a range of crowdsource recommendations as well. Crowdsource recommendations are excellent for those new visitors who you might not have any browsing or intent data on. Things such as frequently browsed or frequently carted are very powerful. We also have impulse buys as well. So these are products that require less consideration. They tend to be very quick to cart and purchase. And it's very useful to have this as a data source, as it can be used to promote some of the more supplemental products that you might sell. But it also is very useful to getting people converting for the first time on a low consideration product, which will kind of act as a bit of a gateway product for you. We can also do personalized recommendations as well on a one-to-one basis. This is not taking into account my audience segment. It's purely taking into account my browsing, carting, and purchasing habits to give me a curated, selected set of product recommendations that are personal to me as a customer. We also offer fallback data sources as well if the primary data source you've selected is not valid for this individual. Very, very useful, and it prevents you having any kind of wasted real estate on the website. There's always something to fall back to and show. So now let's go and have a look and see how we can further supplement these product recommendations to make them even more powerful and relevant. So there's two aspects to this. The first of which is looking at social proof. So social proof is a very, very powerful way to increase more urgency across purchasing, and also to give people a bit more trust with that kind of wisdom of the crowd phenomenon that we often see. So when I select and add in social proof messaging, it will automatically integrate it into the product recommendation. So as we see here, this is demonstrating how many times this product has been purchased today. If potentially you're dealing with a product that has maybe very low purchase volume, instead you might not want to display how many people have purchased the product. You might want to instead choose carted, or you might want to choose how many people have browsed this product recently. So there's a social proof for all products. No matter how often or frequently it's purchased, there's a way that you can use the wisdom of the crowd to encourage people to convert. So we typically see a sales uplift of about 3% from adding in social proof to product recommendations. It's very easy to do, but immensely powerful. As well, you can obviously change the icon color, and you can upload custom icons as well if there are specific images you would like to display that aren't preloaded in our platform. An additional way to improve the efficacy of product recommendations is through ratings and reviews. So ratings and reviews are great to display on product recommendations, as they're an excellent trust builder. And they also give people the confidence that products they're buying are going to fit them and be effectively a good product that's not going to explode in 5 seconds. So you can, if we navigate down, you'll see reviews have appeared on here. Just to say that we integrate with pretty much all the major review providers, and also if you maybe have kind of an in-house or in-platform reviews that kind of come native with your e-commerce platform, we absolutely can pick those up as well. You might notice, however, that there's actually some review here there's some products here that haven't been reviewed. Now, that might be something we actually want to filter out of these recommendations, as we might want to just make all of these recommendation blocks purely products that have been reviewed. Now, we can do that by choosing to filter the product recommendation. And this will allow you to make that product recommendation even more personalized and relevant for the individual, but also allow you to manage some of your aspects of merchandising as well through Fresh. So let's have a look firstly at how we can manage the review side of things. So we drag the product field into the filter builder here, and we select reviews, or ratings, I should say. My mistake. What we're going to be looking to do is only show products that have a star rating of 4 or more, because we don't want to be promoting products in a very prominent way if they potentially aren't that good, or they've been purely reviewed, as often people won't click through on a 1-star product because it's effectively in their mind going to forever be a 1-star product. So you don't want to be displaying that on a prominent recommendation block, as you're going to see very low traffic, low click through, and low conversion on it. And that's done. So now the recommendation block will filter and only show products that have a rating of 4 or more stars. Now, another way you can use these filters to help your merchandising is through understanding stock levels and then choosing to promote products based upon stock. So if we add in the stock level filter, and then we can say that we would like to only display products that have over 50 items in stock at any one time. This is really excellent, again, for things like Black Friday, where you might be selling in really high volumes, because you don't want to be promoting products on your homepage that by the time an individual's click through onto the PDP, it's already sold out. You want to ensure that you're only promoting products that have enough stock that are going to then allow that person to convert and are not going to act as wasted real estate. So that's how you can make product recommendations hyper relevant, by modifying the data source and then filtering them to, again, make them more effective, but also to help your own internal merchandising. The next thing we want to have a look at is triggered messaging. So let's navigate to that interface now. So what we're looking at right now is the Fresh Relevance Cart Abandonment Builder. So we're able to build out very simple and also very granular cart abandonment campaigns through this builder. So in terms of what I have set up currently, this is a super simple cart abandonment. So when a cart has been abandoned, and we determine, in this case, we determine abandonment as sitting there for 15 minutes after a person's exited the page, you can define what that length looks like and customize that. So this cart has been abandoned, it's sat there for 15 minutes, and on the 15th minute, what will happen is it will be entered in and entered into a cart abandonment cadence, and we will begin to fire out triggered messages through your ESP. However, you might want to be a bit more granular and targeted with how you speak to different people based upon the content and value of their cart. So let's look at how we go about doing that. So first things first, I'm going to drag back the triggered program and I'm going to put it back in its box. We now want to navigate to the rules section and we want to pull through the cart field. It's going to give us a number of different fields, subfields we can pull from. Things such as quantity of items, value are the most useful. We'll be looking at the value today. We would like to say that if the value of this cart is greater than £400, we would like to send out this specific email cadence through your ESP. If the cart value is below £400 instead, what we would like to do is send this particular cadence through your ESP. I mentioned ESP quite a bit. We can also blend this triggered campaigns with SMS as well. So you can have a multi-channel abandonment strategy that touches on different channels to improve effectiveness. As well as cart abandonment, we also offer a range of different types of triggers as well. So browse abandonment is an excellent way to create additional revenue opportunities, not just during your busy period, but any period. You can obviously be very selective with what you determine to be a browse abandonment. Let's have a look at what I've set up already. So I've added in some additional rules around here that are making sure the person is very engaged with the products, and also in this particular scenario, they've actually purchased something recently. So another excellent tool and a great way to create additional revenue opportunities, not just during Black Friday, but after and even before, is browse abandonment. So browse abandonment is set up in a very similar way to cart abandonment. And what it will do is it will trigger an email to be sent out, or a series of emails and SMSs, after an individual has browsed a product with high intent and then navigated off the page. We can also do a range of So as well as cart abandonment campaigns, we can also do a range of triggered campaigns through the Fresh Triggered Messaging Builder. Browse abandonment is a great way to create additional revenue opportunities, not just during your busy period, but across the entire year. So it's set up in a very similar way to cart abandonment, as we've just seen. It effectively takes into account and understands what products somebody's been browsing with very high intent. And once they cross that intent threshold, which you define, a series of emails or SMSs can be sent out through your ESP or through your SMS provider to get them back onto the website and then purchasing. We can also do purchase complete and sort of that kind of post-purchase journey if there are additional things that you would like a person to undertake, or potentially you want to get them back on and purchasing again. It's a really excellent tool. Effectively, you can build a triggered campaign out of anything on the website, and you obviously then define exactly what content is then sent out. And the final thing I wanted to run through today is advanced testing and optimization. This is really, really important when it comes to not just optimizing prior to your seasonal peak, but also from learning from your busy period and taking those lessons forward into your regular year. So in terms of setting up a test, it's very quick and simple. So we drag a second piece of content and we drag it over a piece of content that exists within our rule tree, and we've begun to set up a test. It could be an A/B split test where we choose the split. You can obviously choose when the test ends. It could be after a set number of emails have been sent. I prefer that personally because you can then ensure statistical significance of the test. You're going to get better results off 200 emails as opposed to 20. But I think the real value of Fresh Relevance goes beyond standard basic A/B testing into what we call multi-arm testing. This is continuous optimization for your customer journey. So what you do is you set a goal. In this case, it's going to be increasing conversion, as that's probably the key metric we care about when we think about cart abandonments. And what the multi-arm test is going to do is it's going to test all the different content that we place into the test automatically, and it's going to understand which is the best for driving up conversions. Once it's understood that, it will then start automatically displaying the content that's best for our goal. So you can fill this full of content prior to your seasonal peak. The platform will learn and test different content. And then when you hit that busy period, you know the content you're displaying across all of your digital channels, be that a cart abandonment email, be that a product recommendation, is fully optimized and going to deliver you the best results. Okay, so thank you very much for bearing with me then. What we've had a look at today is firstly capturing emails for new visitors and optimizing the experience to prevent them bouncing away. We've then had a quick look at returning customer experiences before delving into product recommendations and seeing how different data sources can change the purpose of recommendations. We've also looked at a few additional filters to improve the efficacy and also for your own internal merchandising purposes. We've then looked at triggered messaging, going beyond cart abandonment campaigns into things such as browse abandonment and also mentioning post-purchase journeys. Really, the sort of real strength of triggered messaging with Fresh is it allows you to speak to different people in different ways through triggers. Very, very powerful, and you typically see a revenue uplift from cart or browse abandonment in a region of about 10%. That's full sales uplift, which is very, very powerful and shows you the importance of being able to deliver these very granular targeted triggered campaigns. The final thing we've looked at is advanced testing. So optimizing your digital channels prior to seasonal peak and also taking learnings from those high traffic periods into the rest of your year, constantly optimizing the digital channels without needing to throw significant resources at it. Testing through automation is immensely powerful, and it's going to ensure that you get the best results during your seasonal peak. Okay, so we've probably got time for a few questions. Let's have a quick look at the chat. Okay, first one, good question. Data capture, specifically exit intent for mobile devices. How can we deliver exit intent when most of our visitors and customers access our website on iPhone or mobile? It's an excellent question because you don't have the same kind of, I guess, exit intent triggers generated on a mobile. You don't see or we don't understand that the mouse is heading towards the exit of the screen. Therefore, how can we deliver exit intent to mobile devices? So what we tend to advise is you look at the kind of average dwell time or the average kind of time spent on page for a new visitor, and then you set the exit intent pop-up to appear just before or just after that average time. Just before is probably best to help you capture the most. So with mobile, we don't suggest that you do it on any kind of like directional intent of the mouse or finger. It's all done on the timings, and you should look at the average time spent on page and then use that as guidance. But it's a very good question. Okay, yeah, another good one here. James, understand that the data sources look excellent that are powering product recommendations, but the recommendation block doesn't fit our creative. It's a good point. We're obviously looking at a demonstration portal right now. You have full latitude to customize all of the content, not just including product recommendations, within Fresh Relevance to ensure it's aligned with your creative. We can import custom fonts if you have those built. Also, if potentially you're concerned about the resources needed to build some of this content within Fresh, we also have a professional services team who can build it for you and create these create the content, but also create the campaigns and rule trees to support that. We'd be happy to discuss what those kind of professional services credits look like commercially. You're welcome to come and drop me an email if you have some questions around that, and we can discuss what that process looks like. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me today. Very much appreciated taking the time to learn about the ways that Fresh Relevance can help you optimize prior to seasonal peaks. We're going to help you drive up conversion, grow sales, and ultimately take advantage of your busiest period. Thank you very much, and all the best.